Oh, wow. Hey, I have to say for that, we're about to host a Q&A, which we'd love you to be part of. But can we put our hands together for In Heart's Wake and the makers of that? As a performer myself of 35 years, I've got to say, full respect. That is truly walking the walk of the talk of a difficult conversation that we as performers, I know that carpet from Kingscliff. I've performed in those places. It wasn't like it was a function full of accountants when I was there. I would have much preferred that. So we're going to have a Q&A now. So I want you to think, what do you think? If you can. If you need to go to the toilet, I had to go about 3 times and carbon offset myself. But you're welcome to pop out, but do come back in because this is a really important part of the process. We're streaming out live and you'll see me check my phone. I'm actually looking at my Facebook. I'll be checking the questions as they come in that are streamed in live. So if you see me do that, I haven't suddenly drifted off into another process. We're just setting up the chairs and the tech. It was pretty amazing that what we're doing there is exciting, isn't it? I went, oh my God, it's so positive. And I'm like, who would have thought? I would have expected that of Xavier Rudd, not metalcore. I was also going like, wow, that's so cool. As we do. So get the questions ready. I think, are we all, I'm not going to sit on that, am I? I'll be offsetting myself if that happens. So I do believe, so it is extraordinary. And also seeing part of this is a conversation that I think we haven't had within the entertainment industry as artists, is about the way we work and how we can work better and how we can support each other to have these really important conversations, and how that what we do is going to model it forward. So I'm so excited to be having this conversation tonight in the lead up to, I think, what is possibly the most important election that we're going to be having, because it's the election on climate in a time where politicians don't want to talk about climate because it's too uncomfortable, because they're still taking money from big coal and gas. They're not taking the responsibility. But people on the ground, like we see tonight, like within Heart's Wake, like with, Jono at Afends, we have artists and musicians that are walking the walk, that are doing the work, that are leading the way. And it's time that the rest of the community and that our government fell into step with where we need to go. So thank you again. It is very exciting. So I'll welcome onto the stage now. We have, of course, Jake Taylor. Jake, are you coming out here now? Oh, there you are. You're up there. Jake was here before. We know Jake. Jake, lead vocalist. Is that one for you or for me?
I don't know. We've got an extra.
We've got an extra one.
You can offset that if you want.
I'll have to offset the chair because I went, wow, I can make that.
Mandy Nolan.
Wow. That'll be coming back at me. I wish you'd made my political ad. That would have been vote. Well, can you say vote 1 the Greens like that?
Vote for the Greens. Number 1 for Richmond, Mandy Nolan. Coming this summer to a politician near you.
I love that. Also, can we please welcome Nidala Barker, please, amazing artist, First Nation woman, carbon offsetter also extraordinary. She's made a carbon offset EP, and of course Jono Salfield, amazing co-founder of Afends, which is a fabulous sustainable product. I'd like to also, as we sit here tonight, acknowledge that we are gathering here tonight on the land of Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation. I'd like to acknowledge those traditional owners, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that without First Nation justice, there is no climate justice. Okay, so here we are. This is exciting, talking about that. I guess what I want to ask before we go to questions, and the questions tonight are from you, the audience too, and we have Danny Salfield. Danny, make yourself obvious. Can we put our hands together too for the incredible Chucky? What? You have,
You get the silver mic.
oh, I love it.
It's like John Laws's second mic or something.
Wow, is this like I've never used this one before. Really? I've got something like this home. I keep it in the drawer. I told the kids, it's a joke. Sorry, my daughter's
It's
here.
not.
Mummy was just making a joke. I don't know if I have to carbon offset my joke. Oh, God, where will I start? But here tonight, which is amazing. You also, as well as people out that are watching the stream of this tonight, any questions that you want to ask, please do put it in the comments stream where you're watching tonight. And also the audience, you are the comment stream, the live audience here tonight. So Danny is there, and just tonight, just indicate. That'll be it, and then we'll go to a question from you and get the microphone to you. I'd just like to throw to the three panelists, and we can just start by kind of starting with Jake and sort of running down to Nidala and Jono, is how has the work that you've done, like I'm interested in your own industry because it's challenging. Like I watched that as an artist and I couldn't help but feel 35 years as a comedian, and I haven't, it's not glamorous where I go, mainly to RSL clubs. But all over Australia. But it makes you think about your impact, and it makes you think about, how do I measure this? How do I do this? Where do I start? And how do we have these conversations? So how has the work that you've done impacted on the conversations that you've had with people, within your creative genre? How have you led that conversation or opened those doors? Well, that's a big one, isn't it?
You make movies, I think. Yeah, it's made me more aware of what everything that I've been doing just by opening this Pandora's box. And I've been really cautious to not have conversations, but not actually point the finger, because that can be a tricky, slippery slope. Point the finger, of course, by asking the question of those that you want to point the finger at. But in terms of, the big oil companies, blah, blah, blah. But in the conversations around in this space, I'm trying to not lead by example, but just diving deeper into my own stuff and then exploring it that way. And that is the conversation through the art.
Yeah, and you're also doing what seems to be in the film is you're doing a lot of problem solving, because in a sense you're a pioneer in the industry and doing what you're doing. If people haven't done it before, you're having to solve some complex problems.
And I don't know that they are solved, to be true. We're just giving it a go and doing the best that we can to try and solve these problems, because we don't fully know the scope of the problem to a degree. So it's giving it our best foot forward and just doing the best we can as artists.
Nidala?
I suppose I'm coming at it with a little bit of a different lens, in the sense that my sustainability work was very legitimate work before the music stuff. And because of that, I think it was always bred into the conversations of what I was doing, and music was more my side hustle of how I was able to purge having to work with big corporations on pseudo-sustainability policies. But I think the hard bit, again, and not pointing fingers, is going, what does the boundary of what you can do look like? And I know that this is one of the first conversations I actually had with Jake, where we were on the phone. I was like, I'm trying to carbon offset my EP and I don't know where to stop. And it wasn't ever about where do you start, it was about where do you stop, because I'd found myself Googling the company that produced the cord of the rubber band on the cord of my guitar. And I was like, well, that feels a little bit too far at this point, right? Like it's just, and, you know, I was emailing this poor gentleman in Taiwan and I was like, what is the carbon price of this rubber band? And he's like, I don't know. And I didn't know and nobody knew. And then I just turn around and kind of just freak out about it. And it's so funny because all of my work is about finding your scale of capacity and your area of impact and showing up at 100%, right? So I suppose.
I love it when you said that though. When you said, what is the carbon impact of my rubber band? It sounded like metalcore.
It does. Well, that's what it comes from,
Sounded
right?
really deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it too.
You've
like,
got it
wow.
too.
I was really impressed. That's interesting. So Jono, has like you're working in the fashion industry and in textiles. So how you're leading the way in an industry that has a devastating impact as one of the biggest emitters and one of the biggest issues we have, particularly with fast fashion. How has it been for you trying to make that space in an industry where you'll just be pushed aside if you're not, financially able to meet a bottom line?
Yeah, it's such a big question. And in fashion, because look, everyone here, we all wear clothes, so everyone is part of that. Yeah, so for us, we started in 2006, and I guess the beginnings of Afends is quite similar to how I guess Jake in Heart's Wake and their band evolved from just starting and trialing and just doing things. And we're just stoners, and we stumbled across hemp. And
As you do.
Yeah. And I guess that just started our journey. So I think what opens the doors for different industries, just discovery to, I guess it takes that eye-opening thing, whatever it might be, whether for us, it was hemp, to look at this plant and go, wow, it's so underused and has so much potential and can be, something that can really make a change. And for us, that was the eye-opening. That probably wasn't even the question, was it?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's organic. We let it go. What I would like to, stay with you down there for a minute, Jono, because what I'm fascinated with too is how did we lose hemp? Hemp is the most incredible, sustainable product.
Yeah.
And we've had to fight to get it back.
Yeah, the crazy thing is that all the wars back in the 1800s were over hemp. Now they're over oil, which is, most people wouldn't realize that. It's fucked up. But I don't know. I guess we just lost touch of a lot of natural things that we used to grow. But hemp being just the biggest thing in the 1800s, which, the 1800s is a while ago. But it's a crazy thought that it just got so lost. So I think we'll see it evolve a lot over the years. I think it will make a big impact. I hope so.
Yeah. Nidala, you're talking then about pseudo-sustainability. I'd love you to elaborate and for all of you to jump in a little bit on that, on what that actually means. Are we at risk of thinking we're sustainable when we're being sold pseudo-sustainability?
Fuck yeah. It's
Tell me more about this pseudo-sustainability. I think we need to talk about that.
So I'm going to take it 2 steps back before I go a step forward,
yeah.
because I think that what Jono just said is really important, right? It's that it's going back to the process of honoring, right? And I think this is also what's behind Jake's work, and I know that it's also what's behind my work, is that we're trying to honor something that has been lost in a process in which we've tried to commodify it and systematically push it into this box to make it sellable, to make it, work within this outside system. And by virtue of doing that, we've lost track of what it was that we were trying to honor. And whether that's by saying, hey, that's hemp that's in the shirt and that plant is highly valuable, or whether that's saying, hey, we actually have something really real here in this mosh pit when we're all coming together and we're feeling this fire of aliveness together. And accepting that as creators, whatever creation that is, we have this incredible opportunity to reshuffle that space and to use that attention, to use that platform to go, okay, I see what's happening there and I honor that. And that's why I'm creating, rather than for ticket sales, rather than for garment sales, rather than, you know, for finding work and filling your pockets or just really putting bread on the table sometimes. But whatever it is, it's like, how do we re-honor that process? And I think the reason I'm taking this tangent backwards is that that's where we're getting lost in greenwashing. That is where we're going wrong in our journey to sustainability, because we are so focused on trying to make sustainability into this measurable, quantifiable goal and outcome that we can tick off our spreadsheet, that we forget what it's about. And at the end of the day, sustainability looks different for everyone. And carbon neutrality is a murky science at best. That's so difficult to account. And I remember having so much relief after that conversation with you, where you were just like, just do what you can, figure out where you can do it and do what you can. And it lit something back up in me where I was like, right, what does 100% of my capacity look like? And I think that's where we need to get real about sustainability. And it's much more than just not using a plastic bottle. It's reconciliation and Indigenous rights. It's women's rights. It's, you know, revaluing water. It's about what we wear. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent.
No, I don't think it is tangent, because it is a sense of connection, responsibility, and connection, isn't it? It's a connection of everything. And before we head to the audience, I just have to ask you, because I find it hard to keep a logbook when I have to go where I've been in the car, to say I went there that many kilometers. Like, I have to make myself do it. How and I guess you're quite curious about this here, is what's the physical process of tracking your carbon footprint and what you're doing? How do you capture that in a way that we could all do that? How can we do that? Like, I want to know. Like, I'm like, what does it look like for you, Jake?
Keep all of your receipts, get an earth accountant, and go through those receipts, and then there'll be questions asked. What kind of a car do you use? Because that petrol receipt.
You just said an earth accountant, like there's
it's a
one.
thing.
Yeah, okay, so it's a thing. You get an earth accountant.
It's our thing.
It's not like, I haven't seen them like Sullivan and Nicolaides, and then there's the earth. So it is a thing. You get one. Okay.
It's our thing.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
I do. I saw it, so I saw that.
So just like you have a tax accountant,
Yeah.
legit, like we just hand over those receipts and we have this conversation that it's not just petrol, because what kind of a car are you putting that petrol into? What year was it made? And you can go deep to go, how many lights were in the studio? What kind of lights were they? And that's what we did. And there's formulas that aren't as accurate as they can be to go down that rabbit hole, but that's how you can quantify the data. So start by the receipts, start by just looking, where do you actually spend your money? Because that's going to show up in the airfares, and it's going to show up all that you buy, and whatever you spend, it's going to show up, and you can create and track that if you want to go down that rabbit hole.
And it's the best rabbit hole to go down, I think, in that sense.
Alice in Wonderland, it was a good rabbit hole to go down to. So
do we have any questions ready from the audience? We do have one over here. Danny?
Over here, yes, young lady.
Thank you. I just have a question around the whole concept of carbon offsetting, because what comes to me is that it in some ways allows us to not take responsibility for the carbon that we produce and that we create while we're doing whatever we're doing. So I'd just like to hear some ideas from all of you, because, you know, okay, I'm going to take a flight, so I'll pay an extra few dollars. It's carbon offset. Great, now I can go with a clean conscience. And that bothers me.
It does, doesn't it? That $1.50 or $2.50 that you push the button on doesn't really feel that it measures up against that flight. So it's a good question. Thanks, Wendy.
I reckon the thing is that we're at this such early stages that that's the best we have at the moment, because we're doing all this sinning, I guess, all this. It is sinning because the technology that we developed and the way that we do things now is made from just not really thinking about the environment, or just not thinking about what the consequences will be. So, like you said, I don't think just carbon offsetting is the answer, but it's something that you can do. I don't think you should just go out and go, I can go fly anywhere I want, do whatever I want, whatever, doesn't matter, I'll just plant some trees. So yeah, I agree. I think we need to innovate, we need to evolve, we need to come up with new solutions, new ways of doing everything we pretty much have invented in the past. And we need crazy amount of change if we want to be sustainable on this earth.
Yeah, Jake?
Yeah, and a good way to do it is not just offsetting, but doing it by 150% or 200% if you can. Take steps beyond that to account for that margin of error and then some. And I think by doing that, we're actually taking more than just the accountability. We're actually trying to really push it into that new climate positive space. And yeah, if we all just offset our emissions, we still have a planet that's not in a place of repair, you know? So it's just going that extra step. And by calculating your emissions, you're actually creating a blueprint of awareness. And in that awareness, you can then take back the things that are not necessary, because the smartest way to tour, let's be honest, would be to not tour at all and to not be in this room, to not be broadcasting this. But we're human beings, you know, we listen to music, we move, we travel, we see things. So it's finding this way to evolve, and it might be shaky, you know, it might be, we have growing pains, but it's just going, rather than being paralyzed by the whole thing, it's saying, what's the best steps we can take? And I think that's where we need to be at this point in time.
Yeah. Sorry, Mandy, can I just add
Yeah,
one
of
thing?
course.
I think I very much not just agree with you, but share your fear about this complacency that it creates. Like, it's fun, I can ship whatever I want, it's a compostable bag. I was like, yeah, but some compostable bags require industrial composters, and you just see people throwing them in their home compost, and it's like, ah. But I think what carbon neutrality or carbon offsetting is about, it's creating a reciprocity. It's just helping highlight the fact that I do something, it has a consequence. And how can I start to name that and acknowledge that tether? And it's not a final point by any measure. And I think that going 150% is obviously well above and beyond. And I know I miscalculated mine, so I went over by 4 times over just because I knew it was going to be tragic. But yeah, I think it's about principle, and it's about remembering the why more so than about the technicality and the exact data.
Great. I've got a question that's come in from our online watchers, which is, how hard is it to make a blueprint, like a carbon offset blueprint for an upcoming band?
How hard is it? I hope the film gives an outline, at least. I'd love to have something really like in a doc, in a PDF. I know Green Music Australia is working on it's called the Green Action Plan.
The Green Artist Guide.
Green
We're
Artist
working on
Guide.
it. It's coming, guys.
It's coming.
For everyone who's online, it's coming soon, hopefully very, very soon, which will be like an outline, like essentially will just be a template of, you can fill it out, and it will just let you know every step of the way. It will ask you the questions. So
It's in the process.
it's in the works.
Oh, I love that. I had this idea, like when I was watching that, I was imagining, it comes because I'm, you know, from my era, because I'm in my 50s. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. And that was kind of like, it's almost like it's the stereotype of people, you know, it was like the destructiveness, you know, and that time it was pushing up against society. And it was, do you remember the hotel wrecking television out the window? That was what rock bands do. I love that you're going outside, sort of like going carpet cleaning and planting trees. Like, I couldn't. It's such a fabulous. But my generation, the baby boomers, we're still throwing TVs out windows, and you're cleaning up. Don't think we don't not say, well. Yeah, that's what I felt. That's where I felt like that was just a little thing I had in my head when I was watching, and I went, oh, that's a deep realization that I'm horrified by. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, it does seem like that. Another question that's come from, I'll actually go to the audience first before I go to another online question. Is there another question coming in from there? I've got a hand
Over
up
there,
over
yep.
here. We'll
And
run
Just a
over
quick
there.
bit of love for these incredible young activists here on the stage, and Mandy. Just
Maybe-
joking.
that's
But also
okay.
Mandy is at her 1,000th gig this month, 1,000th appearance away from home in the biggest week potentially of her life. And tell your friends, tell your family that this coming election is so important, and these young people are a big part of it as well. And just I don't know, just big round of applause for everybody on stage. I'm just so impressed
Yeah.
by it. It's just so incredible. All right, let's go over. I feel like Jerry Springer or something here in the audience. Someone going to start a fight? No? All right.
I just love the idea of the leaf fetty, and I was wondering how that's going and what it's up to now, and how you clean it up as well, like in the future.
Yeah.
What do you plan on doing, like composting or?
Composting the leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've really unpacked this one, and we've thought, wow, like it's got to be native. Will people have allergies? Like we've really thought about it. So where is it now? I think we're let's just say we're planning some sort of a show. Can't really say it just yet, but we want to plan a show where we can really, really do all this stuff. And I hope the leaves will fully see the sunlight in that one. Let's just say.
Sunlight.
Yeah.
I love that. I did notice you were going for bubbles.
Yeah, bubbles are good.
Yeah. I went, oh, that's so cute.
Metal and bubbles. You
Yeah, I
can't go
know.
wrong.
I love that metalcore bubbles. I went, oh, you just touched me deep in a part I didn't know I had. There's another question, and this goes to you too. And I think it goes to all of you, and I'd like to extend it to Jono as well, and we'll refer it to because the question is why produce physical copies of albums, I guess, and not just exclusively digital. But I guess to Jono, it is about your question. Then go, why produce sustainable clothing? I did try to make that. I tried to make that
Invisible clothing.
I tried to make to carbon offset that question.
Well, we're lucky that we're not in the metaverse yet. So I think wearing physical clothes is pretty good.
Sustainable. It's great.
Yeah. So I
How
don't know.
long should a t-shirt last, Jono? This is the question. I don't know. Like how many years? Like what's the longest anyone's had a t-shirt here for?
Jesus.
Anyone come in for 5 years? Do we have 5 years for a t-shirt? Do we have 10? Has anyone got 10 years over here? 20 over there? 20-year
20.
t-shirt going over there? 25. Do we have 30? 30. Anyone at Terania Creek still got the t-shirt? That would be you. Oh, he's wearing it. He's not. Sorry, I was just doing an auction of. It's a good question. Who's got the longest t-shirt?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Sorry, just
but that is the most sustainable thing you can do with clothing is just have it for a long time. Buy less, or just buy Afends. No, just joking.
No, but when
But
yeah, that's true.
and there's a lot of greenwashing out there, and I mean we've probably done it in the early days, and we try not to. It's just probably just ignorance. But I guess as we evolve and learn more, you work out what really has impact and what doesn't. And yeah, like Mandy said, just keep clothes as long as you can, and buy things that you really like, not just that you think someone else might like, or you're just buying it for one night out, or So I think that's going to be the big change, is just being, I guess, more content with less, or just spending, I guess, maybe more money on something that you really like and going to cherish.
I love that, but it's interesting, isn't it, that as someone, I'll come back to your question for the musicians here, but I'm going to stay with Jono here because this is the conundrum, isn't it? We're in a neo-capitalist world where to stay operational as a business person, you have to turn a profit. But you're in the business of selling clothing and telling people not to come back and buy too much, which is the sustainable message. Like, how do you maintain a business with that ethos and still be viable and growing?
Yeah, I mean, I
He
don't know.
goes,
there's a
I
lot
don't
of-
know. Ask
don't
me
know.
in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there. So for us, I guess it's different. But I mean, yeah, I guess those big corporations that have to turn profit have to show, growth for shareholders and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure H&M and big organizations like that might suffer for sure. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I gotta say, Patagonia.
Yeah.
I don't mean to rep Patagonia, but Patagonia have a great model
Yeah, they
of
do.
like less is more, and we'll give you a lifetime warranty on it, so you can come back and we'll repair it. And that's like, oh sweet, I don't have to buy one epic sleeping bag as opposed to 10 shitty ones and wish I got the good one, because I'll replace the good one if it does go. And I think that model, even in big business, like we have to change. Not producing as many as we can for as cheap as we can. In fact, produce less, sell them for more because you put quality into them. And it's this whole way of thinking that goes into our food. It goes into, we can go beyond, but
Yeah.
it's just changing the way we look at everything.
That is systemic, what we need to see.
And Mandy, also like there's a big part of conversation in that's missing, which is like the other side of profit is the people buying,
Yeah.
who are voting for something that they believe in. And I think that when a company like Afends or like Patagonia says things like that, then it makes you want to buy it.
Yeah, that's true. A big part of it too is the production as well, which part of the sustainability is who made this, and that's the question we don't ask. There is something wrong with a $3 t-shirt. There's something very wrong, and we don't ask that enough. But I want to ask you too, if you can make something digitally, why is it still important to make a physical copy?
I think fans are always going to want the physical. They want to have something signed that they can hold on to. It's a piece of art. We are seeing NFTs, like this space, happen in the metaverse and things like that. But we didn't produce thousands of records. We just made less of them, and it kept them, under that model that we just kind of spoke about. So I think that is the future. Wu-Tang Clan made one record.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang. We got a fan here. Yeah, man. Wu-Tang made one physical record and sold that as a way to just, think about it differently, and probably made just as much as they would if they sold 100 millions of records. So it's just different ways I think we can look at this. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the metaverse? I don't want to sound old, but it's the new thing. Is this where we're going into this thing called the metaverse? Are we already half in the Are we in the metaverse? Are we in the metaverse tonight, Jake?
The Matrix.
Is the metaverse sustainable? That's what I want to know. What is the carbon footprint of the metaverse?
And this is the other thing. We're going down the rabbit hole.
Oh,
here,
sorry, I
people,
just
so
did that.
let's
I
be
did that on
careful about
purpose.
it. But there's also this idea that because you can't see it, you're not producing waste. And this is something that's highly problematic in the conversation around sustainability, right? Something like an inbox, and I'm one of those people who I have more than 150 emails in my inbox at all times. That is the equivalent of running a bar fridge.
Wow.
Once you hit above 100 emails, it's the equivalent of a bar fridge in terms of electricity output, because there is not just a cloud that just willy-nilly stores things. There is huge machines that have to store it on hard drives, which are hidden away from eyesight. And so we think that because it's digital, it doesn't have an impact. But whereas, I just very painstakingly made a whole series of CDs out of like these like old style burner ones. I had to go get a vintage PC and I made them like out of these ones that I found at the op shop. It's like the carbon output of that has nothing to do with the carbon output of, my whole EP online, but someone can buy that and gift it to someone else. And then that's it.
I think that's phenomenal. I had no idea about that. Did you hear tonight? Did you know that storing your emails? Well, they all knew that except me, and I'm running for the Greens.
So don't sign up for junk mail.
I've got to go home now and delete a whole lot of stuff to carbon offset.
Junk mail is actually junk.
Isn't it great? You can go, and that's a bill from Optus, delete. It's great. No, I've got another question here before we go back into the audience. So get ready, put your hand up so Danny can find you now. But one of the questions was, what can a new band or a band that's starting out do to get themselves so that when they start out, they're already in the habit of carbon offsetting? So what can they do? It's a great question.
I like to start on the merchandise, because no matter your band, big or small, everyone's making merch. So make that switch to organic merchandise. Ask the questions around the inks, make less of them. You can sell them for more and your profit margin will still be the same. I'd start there. I'll hand it over to you.
I'm going to go heaps more femme with my answer and just say, start with the intention, right? Start with asking the questions, start with making it a part of every conversation that you have, whether that's the person who wants to become your manager or whatever. Set it as part of your intention, and then start to think about it. Start to think about that relationship, because there is no perfect profile for sustainability. There is no one way to be sustainable or to be eco-friendly. There's as many ways as there are people alive, and it's just about finding your profile as a person. So just start setting that seed in everything that you're doing.
That's great. And it is part of telling a story too, isn't it? Because that's great. I think it is great to applaud what these guys are doing, because it's a story in this as well, you know, because does it become easier? Because at the moment it's the path least traveled, isn't it? It's harder to do. Is that right? Or is it easier than it looks? Oh, did I keep asking hard questions?
We'll pay in the long run. It'll be the harder path in the long run if we don't do it. So in a way, it's harder now, but it's going to work out easier.
Yeah, well, truly, yeah. That's what.
There'll be a path to walk on, basically. Yeah.
As opposed to that, it will be great when we get started. When this is just it's in the film, when it's just what we do.
Yeah, it won't be a luxury anymore.
Yeah,
everyone will just be part of what we do.
I love that statement. So, Danny, do you have someone with a question in the audience?
I wasn't paying attention. Does anyone got a question?
Do we have anyone over here?
Yep.
There we
yes,
are.
young lady. Did you have something?
I just wanted to say one thing, is that there's this fantastic book by a man called Johan Hari called Chasing the Scream. And that was about how politics stopped the hemp industry over 100 years ago. And if you want to go back and look at a thriving hemp industry and to do with Hoover and all those politicians at that time, like what's happening with the coal industry here, absolutely destroying industry and millions of people's lives. It's a really interesting read, Chasing the Scream.
Thank you. And it is an amazing writer. Yes, Jake?
Thanks for that. There's a question over there. Yep, coming up.
Just while you're doing the run, I also think the question of hard and difficult is a really funny one.
Like Moses moving the sea.
Is that we need to kind of redefine what we see and understand as hard. Because, you know, it's easy to kind of off-put it to the too hard basket when you're like, oh, it's complicated because I have to have conversations. It's like, well, is it really harder to have a conversation than it is to have that horrible drop in your gut when you feel like you've not done the right thing?
Mm. That's a really great point, because that is that sense of, you know, when you're going against your deep intuition or your deep integrity, when you know what feels like what you should be doing.
What's right isn't always easy.
Oh, I feel like
but it's right.
It's getting deep.
It's really beautiful, isn't it? It is true, because we often do go for that. No, I think it's Paul. I can see you in the shadows.
Thanks, Mandy.
It's funny here. I know everyone's name.
Thanks,
virtually
guys.
In the audience.
Amazing film. My favorite bit was that juxtaposition of like concrete LA, and I think Jake in a humpy in the forest there somewhere. It's just amazing. Well, I'm just thinking, like, we have we're in a bubble here in Byron. You know, I look at that landscape and it's amazing. And you look where you guys have toured all around the world in these amazing, massive cities, which is such a complete other world. And how do you see your message in relation to the lived reality of so many people in those concrete jungles? And, you know, it's just a complete shift in, you know, sort of mindset and reality. And how do you see that impressing into that world? How do you see that juxtaposition? Do you see the difference? What does that have? Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, touring the world, often a lot of the venues are in the lower, lower class places, back streets where things are real. And we do live in a privileged bubble here. And I think coming back here, we didn't feel so good in those places for so long that when we came back here, we're like, like you take a breath again. And so we'd find ourselves looking for the green on the map when you're in a city going, where's the nearest park? And, you find people also seeking out the park. And I think people, no matter what city or world they're in, we all have the capacity to recognize beauty and to look at a bird or look at a flower or a beach or a sunrise or anything that makes someone feel good and well, which is nature's reflection back. So I think connecting through that, and whether it's through movies, you watch people in LA, they're sitting there watching, a comedy that goes to Hawaii, they're still going, that looks nice, that beach, So I think through nature and remembering our way forward, that nature is the key, and we are nature is really the ticket in all of this. So hopefully the film's juxtaposition, through art, we can really bring those worlds back together.
Fantastic. Thank you. Can I ask a question of all three of you as we wait to the next person who might want to ask a question? And of course, trees, the most incredible, humble, carbon sequestering, intelligent technology available to humanity. Amazing. But when it comes to carbon, looking at carbon offsetting and wanting to, move towards a carbon neutral choice, what can we do that's part of a systemic change that goes beyond planting trees? So it's planting trees, and what is the systemic change we push forward?
Seaweed?
Seaweed. I love big kelp. Can we talk about seaweed?
Seaweed's great. I think it's, what is it? Is it a 30 centimeters a day or something? It grows by. Kelp's fantastic. Kelp forests are amazing. Taking a step beyond trees and kelp and things, it's the food element, I think. How the soil, the food that comes from those trees, and the kelp as a nutrient-rich part of our diet. And I think that is cultural too, how we come together around food and how we come together in those spaces. I think that's a huge thing we need to unlock as a civilization.
100%. I think, and again, I'm just going to answer in my confuzzled way once again, but it's not, trees aren't the answer for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? There's people living with severe disabilities who aren't in a position to plant a tree. It doesn't mean that they can't impact the environment or the future or the way in which we move forward. Again, there's as many ways of impacting the world in a positive way as there are of being human, right? A really good exercise for anybody who wants to take the first step in doing something different is tonight, before you go to bed, write down every single way in which you've interacted with the natural environment, right? And it's funny, I run workshops where people do this and then I saw a flower at 10 a.m. today, and that was my first interaction. I was like, did you wake up breathing though? Did you drink water? Did you eat anything? Did you see a person? Because by virtue of waking up and breathing, you've already received a gift from the trees, and you're giving one back through giving carbon dioxide, which is allowing them to grow in return, right? How do we acknowledge every tether that we have with the world around us? And how do we honor that by doing something positive for them? And for you, that might not be planting trees. That might not be a vegan diet. That might not be hemp clothing. It might be something entirely different, but whatever it is, it's your job to find it, and you don't get to sit out just because you don't want to wear linen and eat kale salad. You know what I mean? You still have to do something, and at 100%. So if you want to keep wearing the fast fashion, if you want to keep eating the steak, that's fine, but something else has to give.
Nice. Yeah.
Kind of something. Yeah, I think something has to give. I think kind of a lot of things that I have to give because I think if you keep eating steak, wearing fast fashion, just going about everything but change in one way, I just don't think that's enough. Yeah, it's just the biggest issue that humans will probably have to go through because we're at this breaking point where we might just not be able to reverse what we've done. So, I mean, the positive thing is that humans have put themselves into heaps of shit before and got themselves out, and somehow we seem to work out ways to fix things. So it's not just one thing. It's about questioning everything. It's about thinking about every single, like, not to a stage where you're just going to go completely mad, but just being aware of your actions, I think. And that's, I guess, what was implied. And it's just being aware of just what you're doing. And yeah, I think going out into nature and interacting with the natural world and taking your eyes away from your iPhone and being sucked into this unconscious world that a lot of people are living in, and just opening your eyes to the natural world will be the biggest eye-opening step that people can probably take.
Absolutely. It's a cultural shift, isn't it? It's a big shift. I had this conversation with this woman the other day, and you learn a lot doing what I'm doing, standing at polling booths and speaking to a variety of people outside of here. And this one woman goes, I would never vote for the Greens. And she was an older lady. And I went, oh, okay, fair enough. And I went, why is that? And she goes, see that tree? And she goes, I've been wanting to cut that tree down. They won't let me. And she's at war with this tree, this woman. Like, she's in a war. And I said, well, what's the tree done? Like, what has happened with you and this tree? She goes, it drops leaves. You'd love that. Maybe you could help her out with the leafinator.
She could be my leaf harvester.
This could be it. But something, and it is part of that cultural shift, isn't it? In that we're starting to change, but deep within our colonial nature is an antagonism towards our country and towards our natural, and towards, and towards, I hate saying the word nature, towards country, and towards a more, like I say, more connection with the environment. And we have to move. Do you feel that sense of that? We have to move that antagonism that seems to exist culturally for a lot of the community, so that we can make those choices. Like, I don't know, I hope this woman's reconciled with this tree. I don't think I helped shift her vote. But I did cut a tree down. No, I didn't. It's a joke. Don't. I tried to make peace with the tree. But so what I'm saying is, in my long way, is here we can talk about our connection and how we're going to step this forward and how we take responsibility. But how do we take that and step it out? Can we step this out into the broader community so it becomes very much a natural part and a natural understanding of the way we engage on our planet? Because I feel if we don't, we're doomed. This is these are the messages. What you're doing is incredibly important. But how do we take it away from those of us who are already on side out there? I know it's a big question to ask you, but I'd love to know. How do we? And, can we? Is it possible?
Well, it has to be. We need it to be possible. We look how far humans have come, to be here right now making art, when 200 years ago this wasn't possible, to be broadcasting around the world. If we put our minds and our hearts to it, I believe we can achieve incredible things, because we have such a resilience and a will and a desire to survive, that if we're going to step into this next chapter as survivalists into a place of thrival, we need to do that, and it just has to be done. And like, we're here for a reason. Like, we are in this age, our generation and our kids, we were built for these times for a reason, to be here now, to have to face this. and that's the acceptance and the way forward that's the place that I'm at.
I think, and I mean, I'm so with you on this, and I'm just relentlessly hopeful. I think that it's precisely with art, it's with that sort of manageable middleman, and whether it's by the clothes that we make or by the music that we make or by the films that we make, we can have this opportunity to create this middle ground where we call people in rather than calling them out, and we go, oh, look, I made this nice thing for you. I created this nice experience for you, and we can practice being together, right? We can practice like dancing together and be like, woo, yeah. And then, we can be like, hey, I danced next to you. I vibed with you. Look, we have a matching t-shirt. Oh, I like your jeans. Hey, we know each other. And then when the difficult conversations come around, we can practice being together in another way again. And I think it's just about having those conversations consistently and just creating things out of our purest and goodest intention and wanting to share it with everyone, and not being like, oh, I made this carbon neutral song and fuck you to anyone who doesn't want to listen to it, because it's just like, I made this thing and I put so much intention into it, and I really hope you like it, and let me know what you think,
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Isn't that a great statement? What was it? Something about I want to have something you in rather than putting it. What did you?
Oh, I did not come up with that. That is
Didn't
like
you?
no, calling people in rather than calling them
I
out.
thought you just came up with it, and
Oh,
I
I
went, "Oh my
wish.
god, it's like Oprah." I'm really jealous of that. I was going to go steal
You
it.
can
too.
take it too.
Can I?
And
That's
you
not-
get a tree, and you get a tree.
And you get a tree. Under your chair tonight is a tree.
Speaking of which, Rainforest 4 Foundation are going to plant a tree for everyone here. That's, yeah,
Which is
it's happening.
fantastic.
It's happening.
Which is good work for Rainforest 4. Amazing work. But they've done incredible work, I have to say. Doing a lot of amazing buybacks of the Daintree, which was sold by Joby Peterson during a horrendous era in Queensland with incredible antagonism towards forests. And it's so great to see so much of those buybacks happening. So that's one of the major jobs that happens with Rainforest 4, but also a lot of tree plantings in our local area and a lot of great plans for that. So a big yay for Rainforest 4. That are just doing so much quiet work, carbon sequestering for all of us. I've just got this other question. I just have to go into I've got to put my I've just got to log into the meta universe.
Is that for the bank? Too, that one?
With my very old-fashioned finger. I should, because it doesn't recognize my face. I think I aged and really quickly from about a week ago, and it no longer seems to know me, which is sad. So what the question is from the people watching on the live stream is, what were the greatest challenges that you faced personally to achieve your goal? I'd say for all of you, I guess the goal is, for you, Jake, very clearly, it's this goal. And I'm intrigued how you got everyone on board in the band. Like, did you have to pull everyone over? Because, was there someone going, oh, or was that they just went, yep?
Well, there's what's right and there's what's easy. And they've all got hearts of gold and they recognize what's right and they're all into it. So we're a unit, we're all on board, to put it plain and simply.
That's really nice. So what were the challenges?
What were the challenges? I mean, the plastic's a huge one with the records. That was a big challenge for this campaign. I think that was the curveball there, because, yeah, you're with a label. You want to, they sign you to also help their business grow, and that's part and part with the record, and the fan wants the record, and that plastic element was a real challenge, actually, because there wasn't just a quick, simple solution that we could just go, yep, cool, wrap it in this instead and get it out there. So yeah.
Plastic isn't it? Like, it's so hard. I don't know if any of you tried. My 13-year-old put a plastic-free diet on the fridge to try and work a way we could get the plastic out. Because often you're led by children, she was kind of better at doing the diet. And when she did that, it hadn't occurred to me what a great way that is to take plastic out of your life, is to not go to the supermarket first and try and find something, to create something on a list that you can get at the markets that you can do. So you do have to change the way you think, don't you? You have to decarbonize your head, in a sense, don't you? Like, because that's how we think. And how much, I would say, the greatest enemy, and I would say this from my personal point of view, and how do we meet this challenge towards trying to have a zero offset in what we do in our own industries, in the music industry, is one, there's two things. One is the financial aspect, that it costs more. And we're already having cost of living, experiences for people. And two, a lot of people are really busy and it can take extra time. How do we they're probably the challenges that I'd love to know how you've overcome.
I'll just jump in real quick with something hella political. Working less is the greatest act of decolonization that you can do as a citizen. Because this notion, work, very simply, work in its most basic form is just the transformation of your tools and capacities and everything that you have available to you into an outcome that you want. Somehow we've switched that around to be money. And so now we're caught in this cycle where we don't really have enough money and we don't really have time to do the thing. So how the heck is anybody winning in this system? You just work less, you have more time. Sure, you have less money, but anyway, you didn't have enough money in the first place. So now at least you have enough time.
That's right. And
work less. And the
3-day
biggest challenge, perfectionism, man. Like that gets in the way all the time. Ambition, not perfectionism.
I love that.
Right.
And what I do love the most is I could feel the beaming face of my daughter smiling at me when you were saying, like, just stop working. And she went, I am there. You are truly the sage. It's like so cute.
Easy to say in Byron Bay too.
I know. It is true, isn't it? Like it is less. I'm just having a look. Do we have any other? We'll have like one or two more questions and then we'll bring it to the close. We've got one more question here. And then maybe one down here. Great.
Hi, and thanks, Jake. That was a really inspiring film, and congratulations to you and the whole team behind it. I know it's not just you, but, brilliant. Just to build on something that you talked about a bit earlier, what you've done with the film is to create a conversation with an audience that doesn't necessarily go to your concerts. So in terms of taking the message to outside the bubble of people who already are on board to a certain degree, what are your plans with the film? Where is it going to screen? It feels like it should be something that APRA and AMCOS really pushes, that people in labels go to. There's the No Music on a Dead Planet organisation that came out of the UK. There's obviously the Green Music. There's a whole lot of organisations. How do you see your film helping do that conversation?
Getting it to the film festivals and the music industry conferences, I feel like it can, if we can get the artists, or at least have the artists watch and become aware, as well as managers, labels, anyone involved behind the scenes, because this is where the leverage comes from, the influence. And that's also going to change, when you have your favorite artist doing something incredible, then the fan as well is going to demand it from their other artists that they love. And I think that's going to go out that way. So it's lined up. I can't say it, unfortunately, because they're not announced, but there's 3 really awesome conferences around Australia, quite awesome, ones that we're really proud to be taking the film to coming up. And I know nothing of the film industry, so I'm just on the net, just going like, where can I submit it to? And it's just going to find its organic way, and I have to trust in that process for now. But it's on its way.
Yeah, great. And thank you. Great question. I think we'll take one more question from the audience. We have one just here.
Thank you. Thanks, man. Like, you've done an amazing job, and obviously the whole band. And I was just thinking, so I work for Rainforest 4. We do a lot of fundraising, and we have a lot of this kind of, you know, cut back from the street from people that you walk into, and it's just like, well, it's not enough, you know, what you're doing. And I feel like looking at minimizing the plastic on your album, like it seems so, like it seems quite small, really. Like it's almost a token effort sometimes, like in some, like if you look at the amount around the world. But when I just see the way you can sit there and be so proud, like it's incredible. And I think that's the real thing. Like you've allowed yourself to step into a space where you can actually use your voice to its fullest. And I think that's an amazing thing. I was just wondering how your audience has received your kind of, I guess, your progression into this green movement. You know, like I imagine before, I mean, I don't know your band at all, but I imagine your music before may have been more focused on emotional sort of things, and then to get into this real heavy, you know, green stuff. I remember watching John Butler once, and someone he was talking about the gas project in the Kimberley, and you know how we had to stop it. And someone in the audience just said, "Oh, shut the fuck up and play us a song." And you know, and I was so angry. But you know, like I can imagine you might have a similar kind of thing. You might have some fans that love it. You might have a change in the fan base.
We are a duality. Like those people are probably always going to exist, and sometimes it's a fantastic mirror to have that one person and the 49,000 that are separate to that, because then they're reminded why they don't choose that path. So there is that. I think we have incredible, really amazing fans that have followed us on this journey that isn't an overnight one. It's been a growing process, to be fair. We've been doing this for 10 years, where we were doing the trees for records kind of vibe, and it was just a step, and then you get to the edge of the shore, then you've got to really dive into the ocean. And I think that's the whole, this doco, that step was that big one. So yeah, there's always going to be that thing happening. I think that conversation, and I think it's important to be having that conversation. It's going to keep coming up. We're going to keep having it. There is some backlash. I don't want to name any bands, but yeah, I've seen some people like tweet about it and say things that are like, feel confronted because they feel threatened by it, that they might have to change the things that they do, and we are confronted by change. You know,
they're those endless gotcha moments that people try and do. What kind of chair are you sitting on? You know, when they're trying to get like, what? In a sense, and it happens when you step up, and you might have noticed this, I guess, and I'd love to know, is that, to go down here, it's like when you step up to be sustainable and to actually make those changes, does it open you up to a whole level of account, in that sense, where some people are trying to catch you out for doing something?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues, is that like you can't be perfect, and you're always going to be doing something not perfect. And so like, I think if you can just do something good, then that's good. You know, it's better than nothing. So it's like, and I think people do get scared. They're like, well, if I try and do this good, then they're going to call me out about all this other stuff I do. Well, at least you're moving in the right direction. So I think we need to get over that. Is it tall poppy syndrome? Not tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah. And cancer.
It is. I think it is.
Yeah. And it's the issue with cancel culture that we're experiencing now too. Yeah, that same thing. And it's paralyzing. Yeah, it's paralyzing a lot of people. And like, if we had to learn how to run before we could walk, we would be nowhere. So it's that, like, you know, we got to just do the best we can, and then own the stuff that we are doing wrong too. Because I think that's the disclaimer here. Like, this isn't perfect. We've messed up many times. The CO2 jets you saw, we didn't know what we were doing. And there's going to be many more things that'll come to the surface, as I'm sure both of you will experience. But it's just going, you know what? We're here to have a go and do the best we can.
Can I get one? I'm going to ask one question and get one sentence from each of you to close. Most powerful learning. This is big, isn't it? Like, what is it from this path and this that you've chosen, of how you've chosen to go ahead? What is just one of the not the most, but one of the most powerful learnings that you've had to date from what you've chosen to do? We're just going to sit with it. Sometimes that's true, isn't it? Learning to sit with it in silence. I've learnt that because I never do. I don't sit with anything in silence. I probably need to carbon offset myself in a Vipassana retreat for 2 years. Okay.
Starting with me.
Start with you, Jono.
I really like the work less. Just, fuck. Why not? Like, I mean, yeah, you work so much, and a lot of people don't realize that your life's going and you don't live, forever. So why work so much? Work less. Best one I've heard.
I love this message. I can't wait to get this out into the Scott Morrison Protestant work economy of driving people to their graves with work less. I think pay people more, work less. Fucking awesome.
Increase that unemployment rate from whatever it is. Let's get it to 20%.
Oh, that's when we know we're doing well. Well, people are scared of joy. Terrifying. Happy population. Isn't it true? When people are happy, they don't shop. There's no hole. I call it the hole that you have to fill with stuff that you don't need. Like you put it in, you consume. I put that in. I'm much better with my 1,000 thread linen sheets and my ottomans and putting that in and a $200 candle, and you go, oh, I'm still empty. And it's the consumerist hole that we've been fed. And really, if you're happy, that hole just closes up. Oh, don't tell people at shopping. Don't tell them at Robina. All right, I've given you a little bit of extra time to think. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Nidala.
Mine's actually just something that rolls around in my head often, but I forget about it all the time. And it's Marshall Rosenberg. He says that anything worth doing is worth doing poorly.
I love that. That's a really good one. Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm loving this tonight. Work less.
Work less, do things poorly.
This is like you're the best life coaches. Work less. This is the antidote to life coaches and to all that, maybe not life coaches, but that kind of business kind of directive to overachieve, isn't it? Just pull back.
And yet we're all doing kind of well. So what does that say?
Yeah, I know. Don't have to go so hard. Nice one. Except don't tell me that. Jake? Okay.
It's a big one. I think that, to not be so afraid. I think the fear can be really crippling. And I think for moments there, I was looking over my shoulder, being like, what have we missed or done wrong? Because you don't want to get it wrong because then the whole thing might crumble. And it was just this permission to just do the best that I can with what I can control and lead from a place of love in that I love what we do. We love what we do in the art, in the authentic expression that is in Heart's Wake. And for whatever that might be for anyone out there, to lead from that place of what you're passionate about, because we can't all fix the music scene, but we can create a quilt that can, different patches in different ways around the world, and to not be afraid to really own that and to just give it your best shot. I think that's my learning.
Yeah, that's a great learning. And on that note, I'd like to we need to turn the lights off to start. And I've started at home, but every time a bulb blows, I don't replace it. And bit by bit, I'm living in the dark. That's kind of cool. A candle will do, or I just kind of feel my way around. I'd just like to acknowledge too, as we close tonight, what a brave and extraordinary piece of work your film is. For people who haven't made a film before, you've got a wonderful narrative. It's driven by such integrity and such an important story, an important mission that you're on, that it's just so wonderful to see you come together and to actually take that forward, because I really believe that is how we take the message forward, and you're leading that forward in your industry and with your fans all around the world. And by bringing people here tonight
who probably have never listened to metalcore in their lives, or will probably go home and might even have a little Google. But what they will do is they're going to take your story, and so many people are going to take the story of what's possible and see how that might apply to their lives and how they can live. And that's where we make change. And when you vote for the Greens at the next fucking federal election. But thank you. This isn't about me. So I would like you to put your hands together for our panelists for the amazing work they do. For Jono Salfield, for Nidala Barker, sorry, Nidala. Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. Oh, there you go. I got a bit. And of course, put your hands together for Jake Taylor on behalf, and the other makers that were there that are here as well, for Chucky, and I think for Caleb.
Evan.
And Evan, who I met before. Amazing work. Thank you so much for what you've done. Incredible. Now that's the change we need. Good night.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for tuning in online too. Thank you, Mandy.